Welcome, class, to week 8. We'll be discussing negotiating flexibility in the workplace with Diana and Saeed. First, we want to understand what flexibility is. Flexibility is defined as the ability to be easily modified or willingness to change or compromise. But to us, flexibility is whatever makes our lives easier in or away from the office while still keeping the high quality and standards of work as high as possible. As shown, flexibility can be varied from location, like where you work, or timing, like the schedule, and the type of position or work you do within the organization. In order to ensure flexibility, you will need to work on your negotiation skills when speaking to your managers and bosses. It is vital to have effective negotiation. Some ways to be effective and convincing is having statistics and data on why this new change will work. Always be prepared with research and always have counter arguments to responses you think your bosses will have. If you're pitching to your boss, you should predict what their objections or concerns will be and always have points to defend it and argue it. Uh, you should always take it into small steps because you don't want to interfere in the workflow and you just want to make small modifications. You don't want to interfere or affect anything in the workplace. You should always rehearse because you want to approach this almost like a job interview. Technically, you're creating your own position. It's almost like a customized position. So you should approach it like you're interviewing for that job in the first place. An outline and a template that Diana found, which was really informative, was how to write out your negotiation. When you're negotiating, you want to write everything out and everything planned out. So you always want to have a central idea and a proposal of why do you want to do this and what exactly you're going to be doing. You always want to have a lot of reasonings. You want to answer the why questions. Why do you want to do this? Why do you think this will work? Why do you think this is effective? It's always important to always reinforce the why throughout the negotiating part. Interesting thing that was pointed out was the BATNA, or the best alternative to negotiate an agreement. This essentially is just because when you negotiate a change doesn't mean that will be the only change you will accept. If your initial plan is shot down, have another less demanding request for flexibility. This is almost like a compromise between you and your boss. For example, if you want to work all 5 days from home and your boss just like can't allow it, it's impossible, well then have an alternative to negotiate that at least have 2 days off and work from home and the rest you work from the office. You never want to leave empty-handed. If you're negotiating for flexibility and you really want flexibility, you want to walk away with at least something. And always when you end, you always want to summarize the key points so there's no confusion and you want to clarify everything. Another interesting aspect that I wanted to focus on was asking for flexibility before you even get the job. When you're interviewing, I wanted to look more into how asking flexibility during a job interview. I know this is an unheard of idea because of the riskiness, but if you really value flexibility, you want this taken care of before you even start your job. Um, because I feel like if you're a great candidate and if you are a proven added value to the firm, you can use that to your leverage and always try to find ways to make your position and your life easier while working for a great firm. Of course, there's a lot of aspects towards that, and negotiating timing is everything. So make sure you ask in the proper time. You don't want to be first 5 minutes in the interview asking for flexibility. You know, Work options advises you to do it during your second round of interviews. That's usually when the salary is discussed. Also, you want to know if the company is even appropriate to give out flexibility. You want to understand their culture. The ways I read some company's culture would be if their office space is more like WeWork and office more open office rather than a cubicle, then you have more of a chance of getting flexibility from them. You also want to check online for reviews on Glassdoor or LinkedIn from past and current employees, and you want to make reads. Reads would be two things. When you're in the first round of interviews, you want to read their environment. You want to read the atmosphere that the employees created within the workplace because that will greatly reflect in the type of environment that you'll be working in. Also, you want to read the person that's interviewing you. If the interviewer looks energetic and positive, that's a good reflection of how your life would be if you work for this in this position for this company. If the employer or interviewer looks overworked and drained, then that's a sure sign that you will also be overworked and drained working there. So speaking of interview for the second round interview, when you're during the second round interview, you want to ask particular questions if you're concerned about flexibility. Some questions you can ask is like, what's a typical day for that position and that role? You want to inquire about the off hours. These days, most of the jobs you're taking home work, so you want to make sure how many hours are added outside of the office towards your job. If there's going to be extended hours for projects or extended hours within the firm, you want to know all these things just in case you have responsibilities after work. A great note work options gave was the time to negotiate terms of employment is after you've been extended a solid offer and before your acceptance of it. Basically meaning you don't want to negotiate anything before they give you a job offer, but you also don't want to negotiate it after you accepted it. It should be between that time where you negotiate all these like little changes and little things about your job. Another thing Diana brought up was this proposal arrangement, which is really interesting because it's more of an analysis of the data and the research that you will provide your boss in order to convince them for flexibility. When you're trying to convince your boss of something, you want to paint the picture of how your life would be and how his life would be or her life would be if you get this flexibility. So you want to give them all the details and all the personal anecdotes. All that research and data is great, but if you don't apply that towards your personal life and how you will use it, it won't really be that convincing. So you want to tell them the tools and resources you'll use to stay connected, like cloud services and chat services. You also want to tell them the strategies and different benefits that you as the person employee will get and the boss will personally get. That will just reinforce and give you a stronger argument. This is an example of a dialogue between you and the interviewer. Like I said, in the second round interview, when you're discussing the salaries and all those benefits, that's particularly the best time to talk about flexibility. In this example, it shows the interviewer giving you the full offer, explaining your salary and breaking down all your benefits and asking if you have questions or concerns. This is the best time to take a step back and respond to them saying, you want to give 1 or 2 days to consider the offer, but you also want to discuss this scheduling or flexibility part of the position because that's better of a way to decide if you really want the job. If they accommodate to your flexibility, that means this is a great opportunity and this is a great job to do. And this is the best time to know if you'll even get flexibility, because if they don't give you flexibility now, how can you tell if they'll give you flexibility later? So this is the best way to determine if you want this job or not. This is just a list of all the numbers that I feel like are really strong and support the argument that flexibility brings great benefits to a company. Two numbers that I really wanted to focus on was 87% of the employees are satisfied by the WorkFlex programs that the company offers, and 71% had increased productivity, which, numbers don't lie. They prove that flexibility is bringing benefits to both the employer and the employees. Another aspect that I really wanted to focus on was showing the perspective of the employer. Like, why would an employer give flexibility? These are some of the reasons I found that an employer would greatly benefit by giving flexibility. Recruit Loop summed up that employees cost around about $10,000 a year, which include like office space, utilities, and supplies. If you have flexible employees, that number would greatly decrease. Of course, there'll be improved retention rates and hiring potential. An interesting survey that Recruit Loop did was stated that 80% of professionals say flexible work positions are more attractive, and 89% would decline a raise or promotion in favor of more flexible working conditions. This really shocked me. A corporation at the end of the day is a business, so they're looking to help their bottom line. and always trying to help the employees' atmosphere and the public brand outlook the company. And they can really capitalize by giving flexibility by doing that because if there's reduced turnover, you can attract younger generation and the future generation to make sure your company will last a lifetime, and it improves productivity. Everything a company is looking for from their employees is brought by flexibility. We wanted to end it off with some questions. First, if the tables were turned and you were the employer, what would be a good reason to accept an employee's proposal? Would your personal life influence your decision? For example, if you are a parent, would you be more lenient to those employees that have children? Also, what would you say no to? Two, at your current job, would you say your position allows flexibility? If so, what would be some key negotiation points? Three, how long do you think a person should be employed before requesting a flexible schedule? Should a newbie that's been working there for a few months get the same treatment as a 20-year-old veteran that's looking for flexibility? Thank you guys for watching.